Well, first of all, I'd like to very warmly welcome the establishment of the Drug Citizens Assembly and the good work of the Minister and Deputy Fien in the past on pushing forward with it. I think when we first got into the programme for government, we viewed it as a way of allowing the complexity of the drugs debate to be on the table in a way that wasn't under the consistent pressure of political debate, but that it would allow that conversation to happen and be based in evidence and in experience. And I'm really hopeful that that might actually happen. But more than anything, I suppose I view it as a way for people who rarely get a chance to have their voices heard to speak up. And to do that and to kind of raise their heads above the parapet and make their views known. It's a way for families who feel like they've lost their loved ones, even though those loved ones might be here with us, that they've effectively lost them, to tell that story and what that feels like. And it's a chance for people in addiction to explain to us as a cohort and to the Citizens Assembly as a cohort of this government too, how the laws that we make in here might impact and improve or damage their lives. And it's a chance for people who choose to take what we describe as illicit drugs, who choose it every day and feel that that's okay, just to explain what their thinking is. And it's a chance for communities to outline how so many issues, from poverty, deprivation, criminalisation, intimidation, from gang activity to debt to mental health and a million other things, are impacted by the drugs debate and are related and entangled in the issue of illicit drugs. There is an immense social cost to the continued increase in drug use in Ireland as it currently stands. And I really think that the people who are lucky enough to get on the Drug Citizens Assembly, they might not feel like that when their name is picked out of the hat, but I consider them very lucky to enter into this debate. I think that they might actually save lives in the long term. And I'm going to echo what Deputy O'Riordan said, which is I really hope that we can hold the person in the very heart of the discussion. So what I mean by that is the drugs will come and go, because, you know, we'll talk about crack cocaine and cannabis this year, but it could be fentanyl next year. I see that happening in the US, and it is very, very scary. And in the US, they're not talking about drug gangs anymore. They're not talking about supply, because you can go into a lab and you can make this stuff, no problem. So the substances themselves will change. But we don't change, people don't change unless we're brave enough to do it. And I really hope we can put that right at the very centre of it. So I would urge, you know, the political establishment, and by that I mean us, the government, to, you know, both in the establishment of the Citizens Assembly, but also in our response afterwards, because the time will be tight. The time of the Citizens Assembly is actually fairly lively, but in terms of us being able to turn it around and actually legislate, it's pretty tight. So, you know, I would hope that we would not focus too much on particular substances, but on the structures and on people's motivations and the structures of legislation and the structure of services. I suppose I do want to say that, like, the journey over the last couple of years, whether it was Deputy Fien or Deputy Minister Naughton that we were dealing with, the journey to get here has been genuinely collaborative and cross-party. And you know, Deputy O'Riordan mentioned that already, but people like Senator Ruane and Deputy McAuliffe and Deputy Cairns, and I see Deputy Gannon there, and you know, our partners with Sinn Féin. I have to say, I do think, you know, people like Deputy Daly and Deputy Gould speaking out is so incredibly important. I do think maybe that the people who speak up about this, it's not necessarily about party politics, but it's about those of us who are living it, whether it's because you're in a constituency where it's really meaningful, and you see, like on the streets of Dublin Central, there are mammies who, like, their 12-year-old is a lookout for a drugs gang, and she does not know what to do, and she's coming to me and I don't know what to do. And it's a very difficult conversation. And I do think that either you've lived it in your own family, I know there are some of us who have lived it in our own families, but also you're maybe representing a constituency where it is on the street every day and there are people desperate coming to you, and that's why you're willing to enter into the debate. And I think all of any party or none who are there on that issue, I hope we can keep you in the debate, and that you'll work on pushing this through before this government is over. I echo Deputy Daly's concern about Deputy Ward, about not second-guessing the recommendations of the Assembly. But I know one thing for absolute certain as we're going into it, is that what we're doing right now in terms of drug legislation has failed. It has failed badly. The debts are too high, the cost is too much, and today is the day that we could start doing better for people.